going on, everybody? And welcome back to Tiffany's Corner. I am Tiffany, and this is where we discuss anything and everything. And today, I would love for you to leave your opinions in the comment section because I'm so curious to hear your thoughts on what we're discussing today. Today, we're touching base on the top 5 scariest real-life exorcisms and demonic possessions. In fact, some of the scary movies that you watch today are based off of real-life events from some of these stories. Here's the top 5. Let's get into it.
Number 5.
This is the case of Clara Germana. She was a student at the St. Michael's Mission School in South Africa. Now, Clara was known to be an orphan. She was baptized as an infant. Now, for whatever reason, because teenagers just be doing some stupid stuff, at the age of 16, Clara thought it was a good idea to make a pact with the devil. Don't do that, kids. Let's not do that, okay? That's bad. And I guess that's when her demonic possession had started. Now, some things started happening to her. She started to kind of feel a little embarrassed about what she did. And she ended up confessing to the confessor at the school. They tried to sit down and see what they could do to help her with this. In one of the reports, a nun who was known to work with Clara on a regular basis said she randomly started speaking in so many different languages that she did not speak before. For example, Polish, German, French, Norwegian, and other languages as well. Those are just a few. She never spoke these types of languages before until now. Another nun said that there were times that Clara was demonstrating acts of clairvoyance. She was speaking on things and some extremely intimate secrets of people that she had never met before. Not only that, she started getting extremely violent. Anytime that she saw anything that was blessed objects or anything that was of religious forms, she would apparently get very violent. And at one point, even threw a nun and was beating up other nuns. She was just getting completely out of control. At one point, when one of the nuns was making a report on her, they were saying that even her voice changed. And she was so unusually strong out of nowhere. When she would speak, her voice was almost like animal-like. And they said that they've never heard any animals anywhere. And I quote, this is what one of the nuns said: "No animal has ever made these types of sounds. No lions in East Africa, nor angry bulls." She said at the time, it sounded like a herd of wild beasts orchestrated by Satan, and like he formed a hellish choir. That's terrifying. I don't even want to imagine what that sounded like at all. And I won't. So, moving on. At one point, one of the other students said that she saw Clara levitate in the air multiple times. Sometimes it was vertical, sometimes it was horizontal. And at one point, somebody decided, hey, let's throw some holy water on this girl. Should have did that a long time ago. And they were just throwing holy water at her. After screaming violently and trying to fight everybody who was throwing the holy water at her, she eventually snapped out of it and just became herself again. Whew. But this is where it gets really sad. When you do the research to see, what became of Clara after all of this, apparently she lived a demonic possession-free lifestyle until the age of 22 when she died of heart failure. I can't help but wonder if there is any type of connection there. But we'll never know. So,
Number 4.
we have the case of Clarita from the Philippines. In the early 1950s, Clarita was only 12 years old when her mother passed away. Clarita never knew her dad. So, unfortunately, she was forced into a life of prostitution to support herself. And at one point, she solicited herself to an undercover police officer and was arrested. She's a young girl. So, this is very sad and very traumatic. While incarcerated in the Manila City Jail in front of guards and medical professionals, she starts freaking out. She has bite marks on her. She has bruises coming on her back, but yet people are seeing this happen, but they're not seeing what it is that's attacking her. She is just popping up with these things on her, and she is losing her mind. Obviously, after this is continuing, eventually the mayor is getting word of this, and he asked them to bring Clarita down to the morgue. I don't know why the morgue, but brings her down to the morgue so that he can witness this situation for himself. So they do. And within just a few minutes, he said within 15 minutes of sitting next to her, bite marks start appearing on her arm. And he obviously is like, what the hell is happening right now? He ends up contacting an American pastor by the name of Lester, because weird thing, she's speaking in English while whatever this is in possession of her. When Lester comes in, he's praying over her. He's doing his, his exorcism things that he needs to do for her to try to like rid her of whatever it is that's taken her. She also said that she's seen two entities at the time when she was receiving these bite marks. And one of them was very dark and tall, and the other one was short and hairy, and both of them had fangs. I just can't. I'm just trying to take it all in. So for days, she is violently fighting and screaming and crying until days go by and she randomly says, "He's gone. He went that way." And she was completely back to normal again. No clue what happened, where it went, why it got her, why it took her, why it possessed her, where it came from. No clue. To this day, this story is the most talked about documented possession in the Philippines. In fact, there's a movie that came out in 2019 and it's called Clarita. And if you'd like to see it, this is what it looks like. And you can go check it out for yourself and let me know what you think in the comments if you do.
Number 3.
This is the story of Latoya Ammons. In November of 2011, Latoya, her mother Rosa, and Latoya's 3 children, at the time, their ages were 7, 9, and 12. They all moved into a home located at 3860 Carolina Street in Gary, Indiana. And a lot of you probably already know where this story is going. Let's get into it. So just a couple days after Latoya and her mom and children moved into this home, they started noticing that their entire screen porch in the front was constantly being covered in flies. And this is in the middle of winter. So the fact that there's all these flies, that kind of made them a little on edge. And then randomly, Rosa, Latoya's mother, started hearing things, footprints in the basement. She would hear doors creaking. She would hear floors creaking. At one point, she said she even saw a shadowy figure of a man peeking around the corner, staring at her. Absolutely not, sir. Go back. There were even times where Rosa said that she would witness a man pacing, even found the print of a boot that belonged to a man that clearly did not live there. I'm good. She even said at one point that she was being choked by an unseen force. Okay, at this point, the house is yours. I'm gone. I will sleep in my car. Thank you very much. Now, the 12-year-old daughter had a friend spending the night one night, and apparently she said that while she was sleeping, she levitated over her bed. Now you're messing with my kids? You're crossing the line here, okay? You're crossing the line. The older son, at one point, was thrown across the room by an unknown force. And then the youngest son, the 7-year-old, had his eyes roll into the back of his head, was making a growling sound while saying the word, "It's time to die, and I will kill you." What? No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. So poor Latoya and her mother had no idea what to do. So they decided to reach out to their family physician. And the physician said that when he was talking to them and in their presence, they all seemed kind of delusional. The older son seemed to be acting completely fine and rational, while the younger son was completely screaming and flipping out. Now, sadly, because of all of this, the Department of Children's Services got involved, and they believe that the children were like acting out for their mother, playing these like roles, until one of the DCS workers witnessed for herself walking backwards up a wall. I just don't even know. I'm gonna quit my job that day. I'm quitting my job. I'm running through a church. I am just, what? So now at this point, the family decided to just not go to their physician. They went straight to a church. Smart. And they hired Reverend Michael to come and perform an exorcism. He interviewed the family, and from what he concluded was that they were in fact being tormented by demons in their home. He then decided that he was going to perform multiple exorcisms, and 2 of them he did in English and another one he did in Latin. And one of those exorcisms were performed on Latoya. Now, when the physician was doing evaluation, he wrote in his notes that the family was suffering from hallucinations and delusions of ghosts being in their home. So he clearly didn't take them seriously. But at one point, Latoya ended up losing custody of her children. They just thought that something was not right in the home. Thankfully, after her exorcisms, her and her family ended up moving to Indianapolis, and she ended up getting custody back of her children. Now, this is where some of you guys might know a little story behind this. A lot of you paranormal people who love the haunted stuff. In 2014, that house ended up going up for sale. It was known as the Demon House, and Zach Bagans ended up purchasing that home. And he only purchased that home for $35,000. And in 2016, he tore that home down. But before he tore it down, he made sure, smart move here, dude, he made sure to go and film a complete documentary on it. And then he demolished it. And that documentary is called The Demon House. In fact, this story was the inspiration for the movie that came out in 2024, The Deliverance. So if you want to see that movie, make sure you go check it out. This is what it looks like, so you know to look for it, and let me know what you think if you watch it.
Number 2.
So how many of you love the movie The Exorcist? Now, I know a lot of you guys, this is one of your favorite scary movies, so you want to know who inspired it? Mr. Roland Doe. Now, I don't know why this person carries so many names. So he goes by the name of Roland Doe, Ronald Heckler, as well as Robbie Mannon. This is what we're going to call him. We're just going to call him Ro, because Roland, Ronald, and Robbie all start with R-O. So we're just going to call him Ro. Okay? Okay. So in 1949, Ro was only 13 years old, living in Washington, D.C. He was extremely close with his Aunt Harriet. Now, Harriet was also a spiritualist who taught Ro many, many things, including how to use a Ouija board. Don't do it, kids. Stay away from Ouija boards, okay? During the day, Ro was a great normal kid. He did normal kid things. He was completely normal. So after his Aunt Harriet passed away, that's when things started taking a turn for Ro. That's when he started experiencing a lot of strange things. He would hear scratching sounds coming from the floors, from the walls. He would hear water dripping in pipes that wasn't dripping in pipes. There were times where his mattress would start shaking and moving, and it would, cause him to panic. But out of nowhere at night, Ro would take a turn. He started having wild outbursts, completely disturbing behavior at night. According to his parents, he would scream. He would talk in a disgruntled voice. He would throw things. He would become violent. He would make very gargling noises when he would talk. Sometimes he would even stare off into a blank trance. And while in that trance, scratches would just start appearing all over his body. Out of nowhere, whatever's happening during this trance, it's not good. I can tell you that. So for years, they had him evaluated by doctors, by psychiatrists, by all these medical professionals, and they got absolutely nowhere. They ended up contacting some priests. And one of those priests was Father E. Albert Hughes. He got permission to perform an exorcism. So Father Hughes was coming in, and he was gonna go to work on Ro here and see what he can do. And one of the exorcisms, the bed that Ro was laying on started violently shaking, slid across the floor, and knocked them over. Another exorcism took place when he was on this bed. Somehow Ro managed to get inside the mattress, rip out one of the springs, and slice the shoulder of the priest. Obviously, they had to stop. That one came to a halt. So during one of the exorcisms, there was a bunch of scratches that took place. Now, this is what takes a crazy wild turn. The scratches at one point spelled out the word Lewis. What? Lewis? Well, come to find out, the parents, their extended family, lived in St. Louis, Missouri. So they were like, okay, we're going to pack up and we're going to move. They were thinking that was a sign of a way to get closer to family, to get help, to help maybe save him. Maybe that's where they needed to be, was in St. Louis. So they clearly needed all the help that they could possibly get. So they thought being close to family would be beneficial. So it's wild that these scratches would spell out the word Lewis, knowing that they have family in St. Louis, Missouri. So there they are. They're packing up. They go to St. Louis, and that's when they get there to see what kind of help they can get while they're there. But once they get to St. Louis, Missouri, they ended up getting the help from one of the priests there named William Boder, as well as help from Father Walter Holleran. So the two of them, with the help of their assistants, go over to the home to start performing these exorcisms to see what they can do with Ro. So they gathered the residents on Roanoke Drive. So the same things during this exorcisms were the same things that happened at the exorcism back home. The mattress was shaken violently, scratches were appearing on him. All of the same things were happening again that took place in the first couple failed exorcisms. So now it's just a repeated cycle of what's happening before. Now these people here are starting to notice the same things that were happening back home as far as his behavior. So during the day, Ro's a normal person. So they have a normal Roe at home during the day. And at night, they're just like, let's go. It's about to happen again, because we know that this is what happens at night. He just becomes this completely different demonic possession of a person. And it's so sad, because like, this is your child. You know what I mean? Like, this is your kid that you have to witness going through this. So during one of these exorcisms, a giant X comes across Roe's chest. And one of the priests believed that it was the sign of like a number 10. So like, in Roman numerals, am I saying that right? Why am I feeling like I'm having like a whole stroke right now? Roman numeral number? What? Rewind. Roman numeral numbers. Am I saying that right? You know what I'm trying to say, okay? X equals 10. So that's where the priest is going. He's thinking that it signifies the number 10. Another weird scratch appeared, and it was on his thigh, and it was in the shape of a pitchfork. That was weird. A pitchfork going down from his thigh, and it went all the way down to his ankle. Now, these priests refuse to give up on this exorcism with him. They are so determined. They stayed night after night after night, putting in that work, determined to deliver this boy from whatever it is that is possessing him. So one of the nights, it became a next level, to where Roe started urinating all over the bed. He was screaming and shouting slurs and cuss words at the priest. Finally, they were like, you know what? The parents were like, we can't do this anymore. We're going to admit him into a hospital. So they actually admitted him into Alexian Brothers Hospital in St. Louis. And they were like, we need some more serious treatment. I don't know. Let's combine here, you know, some medical treatment as well as the spiritual treatment. So let's see if we can work together with this. So on April 18th, in his hospital room, it was a Monday after Easter, and Roe was having seizures. And when he awoke from one of the seizures, he yelled at the priest, saying that Satan would always be with him. And that's just so sad. That's really sad. That's really sad. And at that point, the priests were like, no, he ain't. We got you. They decided to lay holy water, crucifixes, medals, rosaries, anything they could. They just loaded it on this boy. Not sure why they didn't do all that before, but whatever. I'm not there. I can't judge. I don't know how these things work. But they were like, we're going all in. We're laying it all on this boy. So they took everything that they had and they just laid it on. And then at 10:45 that night, it was gone. It left him. It was gone. In fact, Ronald went into like a really hardcore trance while they were doing all of this. They were just laying everything on him, and he just blanked out. And he went into a full-on trance. And then all of a sudden just like snapped out of it at some point and was like, he's gone. And now let me tell you, so hearing these stories, this is now a second one that has said he's gone. He ended up being expelled of whatever it was that had taken over him. And truth be told, Roe actually went on to live a completely normal, healthy life after that. So, spoiler alert, he actually lived a great life after that. Ooh, that's scary. Makes me want to go watch The Exorcist again.
Number 1.
Now, this is a story of Anneliese Micheal. Now, let me tell you, my all-time favorite scary movie, and I'm not going to say favorite. I use that term loosely because I'm not really into scary movies, but this one did it for me. And this movie is based off of the real-life story of Anneliese Micheal. So, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Y'all, that movie did me in, okay? Call me what you want. That movie took me out, especially in the room when dude woke up and saw his girl and she was all like, nah. Anyway, let's tell the real life story, okay? So Anneliese was born in Germany on September 21st, 1952. By the time she was in her early 20s, she had underwent 67 Catholic exorcisms. 67. And in her early 20s, on July 1st of 1976, she sadly passed away because of those exorcisms. So this is what happened. So at the age of 16, Anneliese started experiencing seizures, and she was diagnosed at the time with epilepsy and psychosis. She started seeing a psychiatrist, and she started seeing multiple doctors. But despite all of their treatment, her condition just kept getting worse and worse. At one point, she started hearing voices. She even became suicidal. The voices were telling her things that like she shouldn't have been telling herself, that no person should be telling herself. And it really scared her. By the time that she made it into her early 20s, she was on medication for 5 years. Nothing was helping her. And because of all this, she'd also developed depression, which, I mean, obviously, that's depressing. Everything that you're going through, it's depressing. You're hearing all of these things telling you all of these really bad things that you shouldn't be hearing and telling yourself. Depressing. So at one point, she was also diagnosed because of her seizures, anticonvulsion medication. And shortly after taking this, she started saying that she was seeing the devil's face multiple times throughout the day. She was like seeing devilish faces. She was also prescribed other psychotic medications that were supposed to help with the treatment of schizophrenia, delusions, disturbed behaviors, and she was praying all the time. She started hearing voices that were telling her that she was damned and that she was going to rot in hell. And that is so sad. And that had to have been terrifying for her. So after 5 years of taking all these medications, she ended up just like saying, I'm done. Like, I don't want to take this anymore. So her depression and everything just got so much worse. And then she started becoming very intolerant to anything that was religious. This is where things started taking a strange turn. Anelise went and visited a shrine, like a religious shrine, with a family friend who regularly organized Christian outings and stuff in Italy. So Anneliese went with her one time. And this is when the family friend started noticing that maybe Anneliese was, in fact, possessed by something demonic, because when they were approaching the crucifix that was there, Anneliese could not approach it. In fact, she had to try to walk around it. She was unable to pass the crucifix. And she even refused to drink the water from this Christian holy spring that they had there. She refused to drink it. She wasn't able to enter the shrine of the location. She even said that the soil beneath her was burning her feet like hot coals. She still wanted to go inside the shrine. So she ended up walking completely around it in this huge way to try to get around to go in through the back, and she was unable to even do that. Even when she was walking by, there was people that were kneeling in the garden and they were praying. While those people were praying, she said it almost kind of looked like those people were snarling their teeth, and they weren't. But that's the vision that she was getting of these people as they were praying. And so finally she gave up because she could not get around the side. She decided to try to walk back through the front again, and she still was unable to physically approach it. Like something was stopping her. There was medals and pictures of saints and stuff, and she said that she couldn't even stare at them because they were just too bright and too sparkly and they hurt her. And she couldn't stand it. So she ended up turning away. And then she just started getting completely outraged over anything religious, whether it was objects, words, music, talk, anything. She would get completely belligerent and violent. She developed a no tolerance, nothing. And that's when her parents were like, something deeper is wrong, and I think she's under a possession. Why else would she be outraged over only religious things? That's the only logical explanation for them. So they hired these two priests. At first they declined. No, you just have to do medical treatment, which they've already done for the last 5 years, and it didn't work. And they also informed the family that they couldn't just do exorcisms, that they actually required the bishop's permission in order to perform these exorcisms. In the Catholic traditions, I guess back in the day, because they've since been changed, in order to be approved to perform an exorcism, you have to meet specific criteria. Some of these things include suffering from possession. Check, she was. Under demonic control. Check. She seems to be. Intense dislike for religious objects. Check, check. And supernatural powers of some sort. I mean, that's just check, check. Let's just say check, check. So things started to get super intense for Anneliese. It got to the point where she started drinking her own urine. She was eating bugs. She was growling. She was screaming randomly. She was just doing some really off the wall things. So eventually they were given permission to do the exorcism. The parents decided to stop any medical treatment from hospitals outside of the exorcisms. They were solely focused on the exorcisms. In 10 months, they performed 67 exorcisms multiple times a week for hours long each time. It got to the point where Anneliese was becoming so malnourished. She was dehydrated. She was harming herself. She was not eating. She was completely shutting down. Sadly, after 10 months and 67 long exorcisms later, on July 1st of 1976, Anneliese was only 68 pounds and she passed away. The autopsy showed that her cause of death was dehydration due to malnourishment. Both her mother and father as well as the two priests, were convicted and found guilty of negligent homicide. Now, even though they were found guilty, they were given suspended prison sentences, and the only thing they had to do was share the cost of the legal proceedings. Now, 2 years after Annelise had passed away, the parents asked if Annelise's body could be exhumed, and they wanted to rebury her in a new oak coffin because when she had passed away, they were going through the trial and everything, and they ended up burying her in such a rush that they didn't give her the proper burial that they wanted. Now, Annelise's father ended up passing away in 1999, and in a 2006 interview, Annelise's mother said that she doesn't regret what she did, stating, "I know we did the right thing because I saw the sign of Christ in her hands." And crazy story, in 2013, the house where the Micheals lived ended up catching on fire and burning down. Crazy stuff. But if you want to see the movie, go here to The Exorcism of Emily Rose. That movie, woo! To me, that one did it. If you didn't know, you could also watch a movie that was released in 2011, and it's called Annelise, The Exorcism Tapes. And it is the true story of the real Annelise. So, boy, these stories here, they are terrifying to me. So let me know what you think in the comments, and if you want me to do more videos like this. And don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on your post notifications so you don't miss an upload. Look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye!